few collard green seeds in my hand. Collard greens are pretty easy to grow. They're a type of cabbage, but unlike a cabbage, you don't have to form a head. If you get two leaves, you've got a crop. So it's a lot easier to me. If you grow stuff that's easy to grow, it's just easier to get a crop. I'm maybe not the greatest gardener in the world. These are several months old, but find stuff that grows really well in your location. Collard greens. Let's talk about when to plant for a minute. Collard greens, I've read that they get killed when it's below 20 degrees. So I'm in the south, so I can grow them all winter, most winters. If you're further north, just you might need to grow them earlier in the spring than some stuff. Your squash, if you get frost, it'll freeze. You can kind of get around some of that by getting some clear plastic at the lumber yard or somewhere and throwing that on top. If it's 32 degrees, probably won't freeze. If it gets down to 20, it probably will. So that's kind of how you know when to plant. It's just by how cold it is and what temperature your plants can withstand. You can see I don't weed much. You probably need to weed when they're smaller. Like here I've got some smaller collard green plants. Probably ought to weed those. The grass can choke it out, but I mean it's still, those are probably going to make it. The other problem you have with squash and other plants, at least in the south, is the heat. And you may not have this problem up north, but the squash has big leaves, especially pumpkins. I haven't had much luck with those. So when it gets really hot, they let off a lot of water. It's just really hard to keep them alive. Also, there's a beetle that apparently crawls inside of them and lays eggs or some such thing, and that tends to kill the plant. I've kind of combated that with these big umbrellas. A relative had some broken umbrellas, and I kind of managed to shade the plants with that. The collards aren't too bad in the summer. If you keep them watered, they do okay. A lot of plants will get wilty during the heat of the day, especially the squash, the collards too if it's really hot. But then if you've got them watered properly, they'll get back to normal in the evening. Anyway, that's a few tips. Hopefully that'll get you out the door. I mean, basically if you bust up the soil, try and remove most of the grass, kind of give your stuff a head start. It's really not that hard. Let me show you one more thing here. Here's how to tell, kind of how to pick your squash. I don't know if you can see that real well right now. But you'll notice the one in the back is a darker yellow, the one in the front's a lighter yellow. The one with the darker yellow is too dark. You want to pick it before it starts turning that color. You can see these are a little bit small. I may have to do something with fertilizer. Probably they may be short on something. Anyway. But that's some of how to grow squash. And remember, zucchini also grow very well. Anyway, there you go. So go plant something.